Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another video on my channel. Thank you so much, everybody that have subscribed, liked, and commented so far. It is my mission with this YouTube channel to gain more audience and more online presence so that I can help and assist other people on their ascension journey, as well as offer healing and readings for them. I currently also have an ongoing offer for Meet Your Spirit Animals reading. So if you are interested, do check out the link below this video. All right, so today's video is going to be about being on a spiritual journey. And I will talk about my own experiences as well as I will try to keep this video as short as possible and also tell my story in a way that is relatable and also somewhat educational. So, starting from the beginning, I was a psychic child, a clairvoyant child, because I was already hanging out with higher dimensional beings when I was around 3 years old, and I would be talking to them. I would be holding hands with them as I was walking on the street. I would be hanging out with beings that my mother couldn't see, and my mother told me all this. And that is because, when as souls we come to Earth, we all agree to go through the process of forgetting everything gradually. And that is why a lot of children are still able to talk about their most recent previous life. But time is not linear, so it doesn't have to be in a linear way. Um, because the veil of forgetting it comes on gradually, and also our psychic centers such as our clairvoyance, clear seeing, clairaudience, clear hearing, clear cognizance, clear knowing, as well as clear sentience, clear feeling. These centers are not completely blocked off yet because Earth is built to make us forget and keep us asleep, essentially. Because think about it, think about what is put into processed foods, what chemicals, what there is in the water, like fluoride, what's in the toothpaste, what are all the millions of programs that we are being told since we are little, school, 9 to 5, all these boxes and limits and programs that we are entered into. It's all built just to keep us asleep. So, if you're watching this video, chances are that you are very much awake and kicking. So, congrats. You're also a master soul and have managed to, against all odds, wake up on planet Earth and realize your divine nature. So, I didn't become suddenly psychic. I was always psychic. I just decided to step into my power as a psychic healer and channeler and fully commit to being a lighthouse in this polarized world where both light and darkness exist, especially now when every day there are more and more people waking up. The last major awakening wave was obviously COVID times 2020. And the one before that, for me, I didn't notice if there were any other in between that. There might have been, but I personally like really, really woke up to um, realizing that, reincarnation is real, for example, in 2012. But we'll get to that in a minute. So, who is a psychic? A psychic, by definition, is somebody who has their psychic centers open. So they can be clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, claircognizant. There are more clairs, but these are the main four. And normally there is one clair that is more predominant than the others when you first start out on that journey and start rediscovering your psychic centers, or you might notice that you had one since you were a kid and it never left. For me, that was clairvoyance. And around 8 years old, I remember being in school and suddenly just receiving this spiritual download that I was an indigo child. And I had a vision of seeing this group of little blue lights like coming down to earth, like rays of beams of light, essentially. And who is an indigo child? An indigo child is somebody who has reincarnated to Earth with the purpose of breaking down the old systems and being there for the new ones, being of assistance and trying to reinforce new systems, which is essentially what I'm doing now. And of course, I had many paranormal experiences as a kid, especially at my great grandmother's house that was in the countryside. And there are still spirits walking around there even now. And also, I think almost all of my family members in that house have had paranormal experiences as well. But no one really talks about them that much. You know what I mean? Like, as human beings, we want to belong to a community, and no one in their right mind does anything to jeopardize their place in the community. So sometimes these themes would come up, but it wouldn't be like thing to talk about all the time. But I do have to say that my family is not religious. Since I was born in Estonia, Estonia doesn't really have a religion. I think there might be a religion, but almost nobody is religious. So instead, at least my reality, my childhood, was that it was common to go to a healer, like a witch or someone, if I had some medical issues that the Western medicine couldn't help me with. So I just remember being in that world and always being accepted for my quirks and that sort of spiritual quirks since I was a kid. And I'm very grateful that I don't have any religious trauma or anything like this that could have potentially given me a major psychic block. As a teenager, I went through a brief period of being an atheist because I was like a metalhead and it was cool to be an atheist. But deep inside, I was still spiritual. And I think I was 16 years old when I first saw the movie The Secret. So that was 2010. And Zeitgeist, which completely blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, the world is a stage. All the politicians are lying. Everything is corrupt. We can manifest things. Like, it was scandalous. Oh, and I was going through it alone, you know? So I did go down the rabbit hole of a few conspiracy theories at that time, which is a very 4D vibe and a very common place to reach when you first wake up and start questioning your truth and what you see around you, whether that's the whole truth or there is more. And then gradually people have to move through the 4D and realize their own divinity and the power that they have within their mind and as a soul. That lasted, yeah, a brief couple of years because in 2012 I had a major awakening as the golden age started, like many thousands, millions of other people, I guess. And I realized that I'm in an immortal soul and that reincarnation is real. I was around 18, 19 then, and that's when I became proper spiritual. And during that time, I also moved to London. And I was so naive, you know. I thought that everybody had woken up around that time. So whenever I would meet new people, I'd be like, "Are you spiritual?" And nobody was. Very rarely. Some people also were. Later on, when obviously I was like vibrating more at that frequency, I started meeting more open-minded people. But usually people were like, I was getting a lot of hate. Let's just put it this way. I was like a fucking weirdo. It was lonely, guys. And also in my early 20s, that was the hardest time for me mentally because I went through the best and the worst experience of my life, which was meeting my twin flame. And the worst part of it was separation and the dark night of the soul that it triggered for me. I had so many issues to work through since, childhood is traumatic for everybody. And I was heavily depressed and anxious and very fucked up, basically. But I dealt with it and got to the other side. But during that time, I had a really scary sleep paralysis. I still remember it. That must have been in 2012, 10 years ago. I still remember it. It was that scary. Um, but the reason it happened was basically there was this being that didn't let me wake up. I kept waking up, but I was still out of body and I had to hide from it in my own flat. I was alone at home, this horrible being chasing me. Ugh, it was horrible. To that being, I was like, dessert, because I was like suicidal and depressed and shit. Crazy. Um, so that's when I realized, well, shit, I need help because this is not funny anymore. And I remember going to this crystal shop in Camden Market. I had this specific guide that I would go to, and I was in his shop looking for something that would protect me. And I was holding this little pyrite, yeah, this golden shiny crystal. And I turned around to him and I was like, I told him what had happened, and I asked him like what could help me in this situation, and he was like, "You're holding it." Well, but it didn't help. So. I went to Estonia that summer and there was my mom was living in a new house and that house was also haunted. It wasn't far from my great grandmother's house, around a kilometer, so also in the countryside and close to a forest and all of that stuff. I remember there was one time when I woke up in the middle of the night, but I only opened my eyes. My body was still asleep. And I looked around and I saw myself standing up next to my bed and my wardrobe. And I was pulling out clothes with the hangers. And I was trying to get the clothes off the hangers. And I felt really angry, really anxious, really upset about something. I needed to get the clothes off the hangers. And then I closed my eyes and I woke up again and I looked on the floor. All the clothes were there, as well as my pillow and my duvet. And I was like, ooh, that is creepy. Again, my vibration was, or my frequency was so low. I have no idea what overcame me, what happened there. That was the moment I decided I really need help. And I don't know how exactly, divine timing, I think at home I randomly had a book about angels because my mom went through a period of reading about angels as interdimensional beings. Again, my family was not religious, so I never even thought it would be possible for beings like angels to be real. And now I know that they are, but they don't necessarily always look like angels, although they can do. And I ended up having another sleep paralysis during that period, but by that time I had learned about angelic protection. So I remember waking up and seeing this dark figure in front of my bed. But instead of freaking out, I called in archangels and they came and everything went white and I woke up. And that is actually what anybody can do if you're having a horrible dream. Call in archangels, Archangel Michael specifically, and he will help. He will come instantly. And before I woke up, I saw that same being moving to another room where I knew my mother and my baby brother was sleeping. So I woke up and I went to their room straight away. My baby brother was really small and he was sleeping with my mom because there had been lots of paranormal activity in that house already by that time. And I saw him sort of like being like, you know, having a bad dream and being like distressed, but I couldn't wake him up. I was like shaking him, he wouldn't wake up. But luckily he didn't remember anything in the morning, so that was good. And even now, there in that house, the same earthbound soul is still there. An earthbound soul is somebody who hasn't crossed over for whatever reason. Either it can be fear or whatever reason. I did have a vision about that soul or related to that soul, and I saw two little kids, blonde in like white linen clothing, playing by the river close by to my mother's house. And they were, I want to say, around 6, and the other was maybe 8, 10, young children. And the smaller one started drowning, was inside the river. So the bigger one ran away for help, but it was already too late. And that earthbound soul that is hanging out around that area uh, is their parent and is still looking for their child, and that's why they haven't crossed over. Currently, in my mom's house is a new psychic living there, so she sometimes communicates with that ghost, and I don't know, they get along fine apparently. Okay. In that same year, I went to my first Osora festival and I realized that there are all these hippies out there who are living their lives happily, freely by selling jewelry and clothing and food or whatever they were selling at these festival tiny little shops, and otherwise living a free life outside social norms. So I was like, okay, sign me up, because I was struggling as I was in my early 20s going to uni and always working at the same time because it's London, you have to. And I hated every single job I ever had that wasn't for myself. I just really couldn't get my head around working for somebody else. And when I went back that summer, I ended up working at Primark on Oxford Street, which was literal hell. And the last job I ever had that I hated. Um, it was horrible. By the time I was 22 years old, and I ended up working in Camden Market actually for vendors who were hippies essentially and selling crystals. So that was nice for me. Also, during that job, I met with my best friend, which was amazing. And I had started practicing manifesting, and I had actually got really good at it by that time, as I had had some years to practice. And till this day, I am extremely successful in manifesting houses that I want to live in. And I managed to manifest a room that me and my best friend moved to together to a T. Like everything, the floorboards, the shape of the room, the window, how the light would hit me, everything was amazing. And so I graduated uni in 2016 and went to India and Nepal after that. And I bought lots of stuff to make my own shop in Camden Market later on. By that time, I had also started realizing about our galactic origins and the possibility of ETs, as well as developed more of an interest in Atlantis and Lemuria and other golden ages on Earth. And I met my soul sister from South Africa in Nepal, and we had a really good time together. We went to the Holy Himalayas, did a trek there, and she was the first person I got on talking with who also had interest and some knowingness about other planets, such as Pleiades, which is the most common one, obviously, for us. And it was really refreshing because being spiritual in a 3D world is always perceived as, oh, it's a very lonely journey, let's put it this way. So it was amazing for me to discover someone else who was thinking about these things. I didn't feel as crazy anymore, you know? Because when you first start out on a spiritual journey, you go through a period where you're like, am I just imagining everything? Am I crazy? Like, no girl, you were just waking up alone. And this is a good moment to also bring in the or to mention the precession cycle, ascension cycle of Gaia, which is essentially a circle. On the top, there is the golden ages, around 2000 years. On the bottom, there is the dark ages, which is around another 2000 years. And the entire cycle is 24,000 years. And each side, so from the dark ages ascending up, which is the cycle that we are on now, that's why everybody is waking up, is 12,000 years. After the golden ages, we go down again, that is another 12,000 years. And this is um, the cycle is forever. Earth is a school, it can't be stopped. So even if there are people who are not interested in spirituality, then it's gradually going to happen anyway. There's no escaping that. Everybody's gonna wake up eventually. And yeah, what can I say? Of course, as we go through spirituality, then we acquire a lot of different ways to define ourselves, such as an indigo child or um, a lightworker, starseed, earthangel, and or sh some sort of shamanic title. There are so many ways to call ourselves because we're not just one thing. Similarly, how we are not just from one planet. We've had many lifetimes all over. And big part of being spiritual is constantly reinventing yourself and rising from the ashes like a phoenix, some more, some less. And so it's not like now I'm in my 30s. It's not like I suddenly became spiritual. It's always been a gradual process. I never stopped being spiritual apart from these like 2 years where I was a medalist and it was cool. Um, yeah, it's more that I have now stepped into my power as a psychic healer and a channeler, and I want to also help others in their awakening journey, especially because the number one ascension symptom is the purge, meaning if you accelerate your spiritual growth and your frequency really fast, then your physical reality starts to change really fast and kind of harsh. Meaning, relationships that don't no longer align with you will fall away. You might lose your job, your house, your partner, your friends. Last big ascension I went through was last year, 2023, when I got shot. And that just set me on a completely different timeline. I did a massive quantum jump and started having very extremely paranormal experiences as well as receiving um like healings from different beings and stuff like that as well, which was very cool. And now I'm here. Um, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed this journey. I'm gonna finish off here because I don't really know where else to go with this right now. But I just want to say that you are always welcome to reach out to me, discuss what you're going through, especially if you're going through something difficult. Don't worry, you're not crazy, you're not alone. Help is always available, and your guides also are always there to waiting to connect with you, both spirit or all of them, spirit animals, spirit guides, galactic beings, ancestors, mythical creatures. You have a whole team of beings there cheering you on, waiting for you to step into your power, your light, ascend, and connect with them as well. So, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and comment as I am trying to connect to more people on a similar path with me. Thanks a lot. See you next time.